Hey everybody, Mac here breaking the fourth wall. I feel like my video needs an introduction even though I went and crafted an entire introduction for it. But if I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little bit confused as to what the end product really was. I started off just kind of wanted to tell you the story of my ladder season, which is not a video I've ever really made before. I've given day progress updates, but I wanted this thing to be all encompassing. I've been so inspired by the Enchant Sorceress and how much fun I've had playing this ladder season. So I didn't want it to just be clips. I also wanted it to be a bit of a build guide, so I included that. And then I didn't just want it to be that, so I included a ton of gameplay footage with voiceover. And I didn't just want it to be that, so I also included a bunch of the highlight drops that really paved the way for us to be able to build the items that we had. And what I got at the end was this kind of autobiographical story, but I just wanted to explain it because this is going to be very different than the typical content that I make. And I put a lot of extra time and effort into trying to make it as good as I could. So I just appreciate that you're watching it, and I hope that you do enjoy it. Now you have that explanation out of the way, let me go ahead and self-plug, because at the end of the day, I'm a hustler and I gotta keep that grind going. Sorry, that was ridiculous. But sincerely, our growth here on YouTube has been skyrocketing, and I cannot thank you all enough. If you're watching this video, if you came here, if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me, and it helps so much for the channel. We just hit 12,000 subs about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and we are just on the cusp of 13,000 subs. And obviously, I'd love to see that number go up and up. But I would just love more people who enjoy the content, who, again, this might be your first time here, never missing out on any content in the future. So consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Enough with all of this. Let's get into the video. I hope that you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end of it. I have something to admit to all of you, and it's that I'm just strictly bad at playing Diablo 2 Resurrected. No, this isn't a joke. It's not some kind of... Okay. I forgot that I actually record all of these in front of a live studio audience. But sincerely, I never finish an endgame build character in Diablo 2. I'm either playing on single player, using Hero Editor to show you the gear that you can get or whatever. I might be playing mods of the game, but I just don't have the inspiration or the motivation to get to an endgame character. And that all changed when the Enchant Sorceress kind of blew up. No pun intended there. I love this build. I've loved playing this build. I've never really been this engaged in a ladder season for this long. But I knew that I wanted to make this video because I wanted to show what we needed to do to get to this point, but I wanted to do it all legit. I either wanted to drop the items myself, drop the currency, drop the valuable items, and then use tradery or trade amongst Discord members and Twitch members for equal value gear. I wanted to make sure that every single thing that we got here is something that you yourself could do if you were interested in taking the time to do so. Just showing you a bunch of endgame perfect gear really doesn't do anything, right? That nobody can get that gear. It doesn't help. So the gear that you're going to see on my character, if you jump forward to that timestamp, it ain't perfect. Heck, it ain't even close to perfect, but it's the gear that we got and we're able to trade for it or drop it ourselves. And if that's something that you're interested in seeing, stick around for the rest of the video. Now I'm going to have timestamps to everything so you can feel free to jump around, but truly our journey begins? It's kind of hard to say which one it is, but it ends with this item right here, this 200 ED, which is perfect, 8 life stolen per hit, which is 1 off perfect, pair of Ethereal Titan's Revenge that I didn't even drop. That was actually our buddy DSG Wired. We have all been split farming over the past week. They dropped this item, they were able to sell it on tradery, and that means that they're able to pick up the burrs that I would need to trade into to actually build the Infinity. So let me just go ahead and show you everything that we traded to DSG to make this happen. Yesterday, while we were in like the final stretch of me acquiring wealth and things that I could trade for the runes that I would need to be able to make this, we dropped this absolutely bananas man catcher in Talrash's Tombs, 11 ED, 1 AR, 4 open sockets on it already, an ethereal base. So let's go ahead and roll my first ever Infinity. So enhanced damage for Infinity rolls 255 to 325, and the minus enemy res rolls 45 to 50, and we got ourselves a 315-50. Not perfect, but pretty damn near close. But let's go ahead and take that and put it onto my Mercenary, and he'll put that to good use. That's my first ever Infinity I've ever actually built. I knew if I tried to make a video that didn't include at least 5 minutes of gameplay, I'd get absolutely pinned to a cross. So here you go. Here's the gameplay of this build going everywhere in the game that you can imagine. It farms every single key boss, it farms every single terror zone, it farms Chaos Sanctuary, Flayer Jungle, down into Talrash's Tomb, which is my personal favorite place to farm on it. The damage output is nutty, and again, once you see the gear, which will be in the next timestamp, you'll realize that we still have so much room to grow as far as power on this build. When we tested it out with perfect gear, you should expect to get upwards of 25,000 AoE damage per shot, and I think this build right now is only at 17,000, obviously check in the gears section for the exact quote. But here you go, we are never in danger of dying. The only time that you ever really need to worry about that is Worldstone Keep, and it's actually only when the poison mages are down there. Even with souls, you just teleport off screen, fire back behind you, and then when you teleport back on screen, they explode before they ever have a chance to shoot off at you. Quick tip, if you are farming in Worldstone Keep, just make one of the slots on your belt antidote potions that you can drink up after each fight so that you don't get yourself killed. Or swap over to Cure on the Mercenary. On lower player count, he's not going to need the Vamp Gaze that you'll see, and he can absolutely rock the Cleansing Aura for you instead. One of the coolest things about playing this build this season, and I guess this is me getting a little sentimental, is how many people I've seen check out the build, ask, what am I looking at? And then once we show it to them and explain it, even before we had the Conviction Aura, I'd be farming on Players 8 games in these split farm games and absolutely annihilate all content on it. And they were immediately converted over. They'd go buy themselves a Demon Machine, buy themselves a respect token, and then start playing it. There are a ton of people in my Discord community who have been having an absolute blast. I'm not going to put them on blast because I'm not trying to dox anybody, but I was just having a conversation today where somebody literally said this is the most fun that they've had in years playing Diablo 2 on this build. But as you can see, the build goes everywhere, it crushes everything. You almost don't even have to worry about positioning on lower player count. Sincerely, there's almost nothing in the game that could actually kill you unless you just get up and walk away for a while. On higher player count, obviously you need to static a bit more against tankier monsters, and you may consider actually prioritizing resistances down in your charms. We're only stopping about 69 nice % of incoming damage with our energy shield, so you're still taking a decent amount. So you can either play better, actually teleport out of the way of missiles and actually pay attention to the monsters around you, or you can say screw it and just go ham, max out damage and magic find like I did, and if you die, you die. I wish I could go on and on and on and do nothing but gush about this build, but I figure you all probably want to be educated a little bit as opposed to just have me raving about how much fun it is to play it. But again, I just wanted you to have this gameplay so that you can see it, you can check it out if that's the only thing that you're interested in. Now let's go ahead and get on to the gear. For the endgame gear, without a little bit of the pre-buff gear on it, we're still using the same Demon Machine with the Shale Rune. Ultimately, I would want a 15 IES, 15 All-Res Jewel, but I just haven't happened to find one, and they're a little bit expensive if you haven't noticed. We have a Skin of the Viper Magi. This one has a 4-3 facet in it right now, and while I do actually have a better facet, I have a -4/+5 facet, which is near perfect. I kind of want to save this for if I inevitably get a perfect Ashudas or a ridiculous blue orb, which I've been wasting all of my P gems into re-rolling for a chance at 3 to fire skills, 3 to fire mastery, 3 to enchant with 2 sockets. but we could toss this in there right now. The +5 damage would be really important for the pre-buff gear, and the -5 enemy res would be more important for the gear that we actually wear, so I'm kind of holding off on that right now. The Skin of the Viper Magi, really important for the FCR frames, especially teleporting on swap. The all res is a huge benefit as well, since it's so difficult to get res on this build if you're maximizing Magic Find, and then the +1 skill is also really nice. We have our own rolled Flickering Flame and a Grand Crown. I know everybody goes for the bone helmet aesthetic. I think that the Grand Crown is easily the drippiest version of this that you can use. And yes, you need to put a little bit of extra strength into your build anyways, but I tend to do that because I like to use Marrow Walk when I'm farming in cows to use Bone Prison to aggro them. But the Grand Crown is peak aesthetic. Sound off down in the comments what your favorite helmet is, because this has been a constant point of contention in my live streams where people just will not agree with me, and I think they're all losing their minds. I've only rolled 2 Flickering Flames, I've only found 2 Vex runes, but this one is the best one of those two at a level 7 resist fire aura and -13 enemy res. We're using a 3 to fire skills, 2 to dexterity amulet. Pretty decent Ravenfrost, haven't swapped this out. Razortail obviously. I'm currently using Magic Find ring because we don't need FCR here. I have a couple really nice FCR rings with attack rating, mana per kill, resistances if I needed them, and then obviously Mage Fist here. For swap, we're currently using a memory staff for enchanting as well as energy shield pre-buffing. We use this to teleport as well for the 33 FCR. Right now it says +5 to enchant. That's just as good as an Ashuda's in a spirit, although obviously Ashuda's in the spirit is also going to have the additional elemental damage, but what can you do? It's so much in such an easy package, and we've been relying on this thing since the beginning of the ladder. Then we have these really nasty boots that we were able to trade into. I think that we've been super lucky on getting really nice boots in general, but the 30 run walk, dual res with a good resistance, and then the magic find as well. Plus they're that sick green. God, I love green boots. I don't know what it is, but I super love green boots. Across the bottom, we're actually using plain fire skillers. I just don't have the currency to buy better fire skillers, and this is what we managed to put together. We dropped this Gauge Charm, you might have seen in a recent video, but this thing is absolutely grody. I think we've only dropped 4 Gauge Charms, and this one's easily the best one. And then my 72 Flame Rift that we got at the early beginning of this season when we were still playing on our Paladin. We're still using the same Annihilus charm, and then everything else across the bottom is just as much Magic Find as we can put onto small charms. And then I have an 1818 Sorceress Torch that you might have seen earlier. I dropped a Jaw rune while farming Mephisto, and we traded that away that same day for this torch. For pre-buffing, we have the Ormus robes that we traded a low for at the beginning of the ladder season. This is 15 to fire with 3 to enchant, and then in addition to that, we would swap out 2 additional fire skillers. That gives us a level 47 enchant. So with max warmth, level 47 enchant, and then max fire mastery across our skills. Then we put enough points into static on swap so that we hit the 16-yard radius. This is really important for hitting your entire screen. On our normal swap, we only have 12.6 radius, which is still big, don't get me wrong, but I always typically static on the better side with higher FCR anyways before I light up screens when we're farming on players 8. We then had enough points to be able to max out telekinesis as a synergy, and we put our dump points into energy shield. So right now, energy shield is gaining us 67% absorb, which is more than good enough for survivability. And then we just put the last point into frozen armor. For our stats, we have just enough strength to be able to use our gear and our pre-buff gear. I would actually like to have a little bit more strength to be able to use Marrow Walk, but as it stands right now, my gear doesn't allow me to do it, so I just don't. With this setup as well, we're hitting the 15,000 to 17,000 range with enchant, which now that I have infinity is going to clear literally all players 8 content. We then put in enough dex to be able to use our gear. I'm actually able to use less attack rating now. Even with the enchant buff, we're only at around 6,900 nice amounts of attack rating. But now that we have the conviction aura and all monsters are only going to have a minuscule amount of their base defense, this attack rating is more than enough to hit 95% chance to hit against any monster in the game that isn't higher level than us. We put in just enough points into vitality to have a good amount of health so that we don't die in one single tap in case our energy shield goes down. And it just so happens on our gear right now that gives us 666 life, which I didn't plan for that. I was actually just kind of messing around with how much mana and life I had, and I saw the opportunity and I took it. There's nothing better than having 69 nice attack rating and then 666 life. Oh, peak meme lord aesthetic. And then we dump the rest of our points into energy. This is giving us 790 mana, and no, I don't use Call to Arms, as you can see from the gears section. You might think, oh wow, you're dancing with fire there, you're dancing with the devil, you're probably dying a lot. And the answer is just no. As long as I keep energy shield up, I have never died on this build, other than when I absolutely refuse to go back to town while I'm poisoned, or if I just telestomp in on low FCR onto like Might Curse Fanat packs. And then that new hotness, we're using the Holy Freeze Aura Act 2 Mercenary. Holy Freeze has been really good for increasing survivability, not only for him, but for me, especially in high player settings cows, since whatever it is about cows that make them desync to the level that they do, they're always 15 feet closer to you than you think. And the Holy Freeze Aura helps to keep that in check. At this point, with the amount of damage that we're going to be able to put out with Conviction Aura, we could probably swap over to Might, just so that he can do more damage and leech more often, but I don't really think that you need to worry about that. He's still using the Vamp Gaze with a Foul Rune in it that we needed for his Colossal Volge. I think at this point I could either toss a Cham into there, or more increased attack speed, or eventually go get him in Endariel's. We're using the Fortitude that we made for him really early on in the latter season. Again, that low rune coming from a Perfect Sunder Cold Charm that we found and sold on day 3, I think it was. And then the Piece de Resistance, my 12 ED base 4 open socket Ethman Catcher that dropped in Talrash's Tombs with our first ever built Infinity. Again, I'm gonna keep gushing about this throughout the video, but I've just never built this item, and I kind of built a little bit of my identity off of never having used it, almost as a point of pride, which is just silly and just a bit of toxic pride there. But just I don't know. There's something pretty magical about building your first Infinity, I've discovered, and I'm just so excited to start farming with this. And before I let you go, I just wanted to hop right back here at the end. I hope that you enjoyed this little adventure story through this character coming to be what she is. The build highlights, the building of the Infinity, the funny drops that I'll show you just after this. But I just wanted to thank you for watching this video. It's definitely a bit of a different direction than I typically take these videos. I'm not exactly sure what has inspired it, but I hope that you enjoyed it. Please feel free to give me any feedback down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're tuning in on Friday, you're actually watching this when I put it out, we are going to be doing our 24-hour stream starting tomorrow, Saturday, March 4th, 8 a.m. ET. We're going to be going for 24 hours. I'm going to try to do a full Hell Sorceress Pacifist run that I actually can submit to speedrun.com. I'd love to have you there. I hope that you enjoy these final clips. They were just the highlights of the items that dropped that were important so that we could end up where we did with this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I'm gonna keep farming Pendleskin. I'm gonna get a Shaco, and I'm gonna pop all the fucking way off. And then I'm gonna get a rare, rare Spiderweb Sash and cry. Holy shit, I called it! What's a Bible build that uses the rune word Bramble? A jaw rune? Like if you go look at the numbers that you get out of the amount of Fire Mastery that you're able to actually run, is that a fucking Sur rune? Hold on. Hold on, everybody. We need to stop talking. We need to stop talking. I just dropped my second high rune ever, and it's a Sur rune. Hold on. Hold on real quick. Hold on, just if I could real quick just get up in there. I've never dropped a Sur rune. You're going to get, and then it rolls from it. And then it successfully rolls. So I mean, like, I have an entire resource on this, on max roll. But it then determines what it's going to roll, and then it succeeds at rolling that. And then it determines whether or not it's a legal affix for it to have. But it's not... Oh. Oh, is this my Infinity base?